Well, hello, English 12, and if you can believe it, we are starting a brand new unit. So, before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about finishing up Unit 1, our application writing. Those of you that are still wrapping things up, please make sure that you are working as hard as you can to get caught up, because late work will close to this unit on September 17th. So at that point, you will no longer be able to submit work from Unit 1 unless you have special permission from me. Okay, so September 17th is the time that unit will be closed. And you may be curious about how one exactly closes a unit in a virtual classroom, and what I do is I will go in and lock all of the assignments. Okay, if you have special permission from me, meaning you had an excused absence or a late start, something like that, then yes, you will have permission to go back and look through that, but you must get special permission from me. So, take the time to get as caught up as you can, work as hard as you can, and that way you can feel really good about starting our next unit. If you've got any questions, I am here to help. Don't hesitate ever to send me a text or an email. If you want to set up a Google Chat conference, anything that you need, I am here to help. So, we are starting a new unit today, and I am quite excited about that. This new unit will be a nice change of pace, and it will definitely sort of set the tone for what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be going for the rest of the semester. So we're going to be talking about critical theory, which is a way of interpreting and reading literature from different perspectives. So like optical illusions sometimes, when you look at something one particular way and then you look at it another way, that happens a lot with literature. So I always like this particular illusion here. Do you see an old man? Do you see a beautiful woman? Well, whatever, it depends on your perspective. And critical theory is much the same way. There are different lenses, different ways that we can look at a text. And those lenses will change the interpretation of that text. So there are reader response, there's new criticism, there's post-colonial theory, there's gender theory, there's class theory, usually with a Marxist lens. There's deconstruction, which I always find a little bit fascinating. So it's just a different way that literary scholars and English types can analyze and really think about a work of literature and sort of see how other people, based on their life experience and based on, I would even say, the baggage, maybe the sociological baggage that they bring to a text, how that's going to then color their interpretation of that text. So that's what we're going to be working on for the next 3 weeks. You're going to be reading various short pieces of literature, short fiction, and then applying a literary critical lens to that. And then as we move on in the semester, when we get to Hamlet and we get to our dystopian science fiction unit, you're going to have that background on critical theory that will help you guide your interpretation. So, let's talk about the schedule. There's a couple important dates coming up. If you can believe it, 6-week grades are going to be posted on the 27th. So, wow, we're all inching up already on that 6-week mark. Our grades are constantly changing in our virtual world, but, your coaches, your counselors, your homeschools, all those people are definitely going to want to see how you're doing in your online English class. So check out those grades, get those grades up to where you need to be, get Unit 1 finished, work hard, and let me know how you can help. So we will also have parent-teacher conferences in October. Okay, so that's, on the horizon. I just wanted to throw that out there. As an adjunct, I'm not on campus in person, but I definitely can set up a Google Hangout. We can have a phone conference, anything that you all need. So our schedule for the week, all of our work is due on the 17th. Remember, that's also when Unit 1 closes. So we've got 4 assignments in Unit 2, Session 1. We're going to do some fun things with applying literary terms to a movie. You're going to have a journal to do. We're going to discuss reader response theory. And you're going to write a paper after reading The Sniper and applying reader response theory to that. So this very first assignment is designed to be a review. You all are seniors, and I very much hope that this is not the first time that you have heard these literary terms. I'm pretty sure that most of you, as you've taken English classes all through your career, have learned all about antagonists and protagonists and flat characters and round characters, irony, different types of irony. So we're going to review those terms. I'd like you to go through here, just look over these definitions and make sure that you've got them down. If you've got a particular question, let me know. These are the terms of literary discourse and the terms that you need to be quite fluent in as we discuss literature. So I'd like you to show me that you are quite familiar with these terms and pick 5 of them. So at least 5 of those terms. Feel free to do more if you would like. I'll even give you some extra points if you do more than 5. But pick 5 of those terms and apply them to your favorite movie. Okay? So any movie that you want. So if you're a Disney buff, for Aladdin, you don't use this one for your assignment because I've given you lots of good answers here. But if you wanted to use Aladdin, you would talk about who the protagonist is, which obviously is Aladdin, and the setting, where that is, what you think the theme of that movie might be, flat characters, some situational irony. Right, at the end of Aladdin, the evil character Jafar ends up shoved in a lamp to be a genie. His goal throughout the entire movie was to gain power, and in the end, he winds up incredibly powerless, just like the genie he tries to exploit to gain his power in the first place. Right, so it's definitely situational irony. Notice how all of my answers are developed in a couple sentences with specific examples. That's what I want to see from you all. Okay, don't just write me a fragmented sentence that's not punctuated correctly, right? Really dig into this, 2 to 5 sentences about each of these terms. And remember, if you would like to earn some extra points, you can do more than 5 terms. So that is your first assignment. And you're going to submit that here, assignment 2.11. And then we're going to move on to your first journal. And this should be an interesting assignment for you because as we're using critical theory to explore literature based on different views and frameworks like gender and class and psychology, we're going to start first with what really is my most favorite lens, and I honestly think is the most relevant, which is reader response theory. And that puts the spotlight on you and your experiences. Because when we read a text or see a film, for instance, you bring all of your life experience and all of your baggage, so to speak, all of your biases, right, to the experience of reading that text. Your background, your experiences shape the way you view things. So I want you to spend a good 20 or 30 minutes writing in your Google Journal document. Remember, make sure you're using the same document and that you are just adding to it and resharing that link. And describe this prompt. So I want 3 of your significant life experiences, situations, events, or any factors that have shaped the way you view the world. Explain each factor or event in a detail that someone who has not been there can begin to understand. And then take one piece of literature that you have read or a movie that you have seen and explain how your background influenced the way you interpret the meaning of that work. So think really seriously about issues, right, that have shaped you. For instance, I was raised in a household with kind of the legacy of my grandfather kind of shadowing everything. And my grandfather was a self-made millionaire, and he was very well known in the 1950s and the 1960s in American politics and business. And I grew up with this kind of narrative about the American dream, right? Because my grandfather didn't have anything, and he, got a $200 bank loan, and like Daddy Warbucks, made his gazillions. So I always had that narrative of the American dream, right, shaping who I am, almost to the point of it being a little bit blind, I guess. So I was always told that no matter what, I can accomplish anything, and so I kind of look at things sort of through that perspective. Also, there was a big family feud with my grandfather's children, my aunts and uncles, and I didn't know a lot of them growing up because they fought over money, and I never didn't see them. So that has actually shaped my view of wealth and how it impacts family too. So I have a little bit of a negative view, right, on that. So when I read a story like The Great Gatsby, or when I read something like that, I bring that kind of suspicious nature I have, right, about, what wealth does to families and things like that to the reading of that text. If I've had students share with me, too, in the past about their particular experiences with poverty and wealth and how that has shaped their particular views, right, of life. And they bring that reading and that interpretation to literature. So I want you to think about some factors that you have in your life that really have shaped who you are, right? I also have children. Both of my kids wear hearing aids, and I tend to see the life, right, through that lens of, disability a little bit sometimes with kids and with schools, and whether or not that we actually provide the accommodations that are necessary and things. So that also, interprets my understanding. So those are just some examples from my life. I'd like you guys to think about any examples from yours, and you're going to then submit that to the Dropbox here. And then moving on real quickly, where you're going to participate in a discussion where you just talk about reader response theory. Please remember to post early and often in that discussion. I'll be hanging out on the board to share that with you and look kind of over your responses. So after you have done that, you're going to think about this particular story here. I want you to read through, watch this video here. This is from another English 12 class, but I very much like the way this teacher explains things, so I kept this video here. Watch through that. You're going to read the story, The Sniper, and then you're going to respond to it. You're going to actually submit a reader response to the short story, The Sniper, around 500 words. And you're going to focus on your personal reaction to the text. You are not going to summarize this text. That's the key thing to keep in mind. As you are reading The Sniper, right, you're going to think about these questions. It should be about 1 pages. This story really reminds me of. So apply this story to your reactions. When such and such happened, I thought about. I was really happy, surprised, excited. Although I could tell the author really wanted me to think about this, instead I came away thinking about so on and so forth. Remember, it's not a summary. Down here is where a copy of that story is. You're going to submit that again on Tuesday, and then we're going to be done. So that is our unit for this week. If you have any questions, let me know.